The Come Up Starts Now is our regular series where we catch up with up-and-coming creators to find out what is inspiring them, what they're working on, and what you can do to support them. Today, we're talking about an animator who has been making waves online for his surreal and colorful hand-drawn animations. If you've spent any amount of time on social media in the past few years, chances are you've come across or seen something from animator and illustrator Rob. Often appearing on design and art-based pages, his work is immediately eye-catching with its signature style of stop-motion animation over drawings and paintings that appear to be done in water. The way he layers colors on top of one another with such skill creates almost hypnotic pieces that feel both playful and otherworldly. While he first came onto the scene as an animator, he's since become known for his ability to seamlessly transition between 2D and 3D animation and illustration. And today he has more than 40,000 followers on Instagram. He's also worked with brands like Nike, Apple, and Cartoon Network, and has even made custom animations for celebrities. Despite all this, he continues to share his creative process openly and regularly, posts tutorials to help others get started on their own creative journeys. In this episode of The Come Up Starts Now, we talk to Rob about his unique animation style, how he got started, and the gear he uses to bring his creations to life. Hey Rob, thanks for joining us today. To kick things off, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Sure. So I'm an animator and illustrator living in New York City. I make stop-motion animated films and watercolor paintings that somehow end up looking like they're moving. I grew up in a suburb outside of Philadelphia and went to college at Pratt Institute in Brooklyn. But yeah, overall, I'm just trying to get better at my craft every day and just have fun while doing it. How would you describe your style of animation and what makes it so unique? My animation style, I guess, is pretty unique because I use traditional animation techniques like stop motion and layering. Basically, I draw or paint an image and then slightly alter it in some way, whether it's moving an object or adding a splash of color. And I'll take a picture of it and then repeat the process until I've created an animation loop. And it's a really tedious process that takes a lot of time and patience, but that's part of what makes it fun for me. It is sort of like solving a puzzle where you have to figure out the best way to layer the colors and shapes in order to achieve the right look or feel. I'm always experimenting with new ways to use these techniques and exploring different themes in my work. For example, I've very recently been playing around with collage elements in my animations, and I'm really enjoying the process. Overall, I guess my style is pretty recognizable because of the bright colors and kind of chaotic and unpredictable nature of the work. For those who don't know, stop motion is a technique that involves taking a series of photographs of objects that have been slightly moved between each shot and then playing the images back in sequence to create the illusion of movement. You manipulate your subject matter frame by frame to make it appear as if it is moving on its own. How did you discover stop motion? And what drew you to it? I first learned about stop motion when I was in college during an animation class. I remember being totally mesmerized by the fact that you could create these incredibly lifelike animations just by moving an object a tiny bit between each shot. I was immediately hooked, and I knew I had to learn everything there was to know about this technique. Stop motion is definitely not for the impatient. It's a very slow and meticulous process. But I think that's what I love the most about it. There is something really satisfying about seeing these tiny movements add up to create something bigger and more meaningful. I think what draws me to this technique is the challenge. It's a constant problem-solving process that requires patience, creativity, and a lot of trial and error. I love the fact that I can create something totally unique and one of a kind just by manipulating objects in my own way. Plus, I love the physicality of stop motion. Working with real objects and textures just adds another level of depth and realism to the final product. I think that's what sets it apart from other animation techniques and why it's so special to me. What types of camera and lighting equipment do you use for your projects? So I actually shoot all of my stop-motion animations on my iPhone. Yeah, it's not the fanciest setup, but it works really well for me. I use a mini tripod to keep the phone steady, and I use natural light to illuminate my set. I'll often use a bounce flash to soften the light and create a more even look. I find that natural light just gives my animations a more organic feel, and it also helps to capture the texture of the materials I am using. I don't have a fancy studio setup or anything. I basically just use whatever materials I have around me and try to make the best of it. I think it is important to remember that you don't need expensive gear to create great stop-motion animation. All you really need is a good idea and a lot of patience. Speaking of patience, you must have a ton of it. Your animations are so intricate. They must take hours upon hours to complete. Could you walk us through the process of creating one of your animations? Sure. So my creative process starts with just messing around and experimenting. I'll often doodle ideas in my sketchbook or play around with different stop-motion setups. Once I have an idea that I like, I'll start to plan it out a little bit more. I'll gather the materials that I need and start building my set. I usually work with whatever materials I have on hand, and I love to use recycled materials like cardboard, plastic, and paper when I'm building my set. I try to keep in mind the lighting and how the materials will look on camera. I also like to experiment with different textures and colors to create a certain mood or atmosphere. After I've built my set, I'll start setting up my camera and lighting. I try to use natural light whenever possible, and I'll use a bounce flash to soften the light and create a more even look. Then I'll start taking my photographs. Taking the photographs is probably the longest part of the process. It can take me anywhere from a few hours to a few days to take all of the photos I need for an animation. This is definitely the part of the process that requires the most patience. Once I've taken all of my photos, I'll import them into my computer and start editing. I'll arrange the photos in the right order, and I'll adjust the colors and contrast. This is also where I add any sound effects or music. Finally, I export the video and I'm done. It's a long process, but I love every minute of it. So much of your work involves bright, playful colors. What is it about color that inspires you? Color is such an important element in my work. I love the way that color can evoke emotion and set the tone of a piece. I am really inspired by the way that artists use color to express themselves and create a certain mood or atmosphere. I think color is a really powerful tool that can enhance the overall impact of a piece. When I'm choosing colors for a piece, I try to think about the emotions I want to evoke and the message I want to convey. I also think about the colors that complement each other and create a sense of harmony. I love using bright, playful colors in my work because I think they evoke a sense of joy and wonder. I want my work to make people feel happy, and I think color is a big part of that. What advice would you give to someone who wants to start creating stop-motion animations? My advice for someone who wants to get into stop motion is just to start experimenting and have fun. Don't worry about the technical aspects too much. Just play around with different ideas and see what you can come up with. It's also really helpful to join online communities and get feedback from other people. I think it's really important to surround yourself with other creatives and learn from them. Finally, don't get discouraged if things don't go perfectly. Stop motion is a challenging technique and it takes a lot of patience. But that is part of what makes it so rewarding. When it all comes together and you see your hard work pay off. And lastly, what's next for you? I'm always working on new projects and experimenting with new techniques. I'm also really passionate about teaching and sharing my knowledge with others, so I'm hoping to do more workshops and classes in the future. I am just excited to see where my creativity takes me. And I am really grateful for the opportunities that have come my way. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rob. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors in KU. And wait to see what you do next. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out our previous episodes of The Come Up Starts Now. And if you're interested in submitting your own work for consideration, head over to our website for more information